All right. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Lasse, thank you so much for being here today. So
Thanks
I
for
wanted,
having me. Pleasure.
you're welcome. So I wanted you to come over so we can talk about how we met and the huge transformation you went through, right? Like the
Hmm.
huge spiritual awakening journey, I should say, because I feel like you've already been on different paths before we met, right?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Yes, I do want you
So,
to.
yeah, basically, just to give you a little bit of background about where I was before I met you, I grew up in a Christian family. So obviously, I grew up believing in God.
Mhm.
And I did so until I was around 17, 18, when I started doubting the whole thing. I became very
Mm.
interested in philosophy. I studied religion as well. I was always interested in it.
Yeah.
But I kind of realized at some point that I don't believe in, the conservative Christian interpretation of the Bible.
Hmm.
Um, and that kind of obviously was a big deal for me because up until then, I was actually quite passionate about it. I really did believe. And for a while, I was like really engaged. I was part of a Christian youth club, and I was, really active, and it meant a lot to me. My faith meant a lot to me, but I just
Mm.
couldn't, make it make sense when I started studying not just philosophy but science as well. With the theory of evolution
Hmm.
and trying to, combine those facts with a conservative Christian view of life and all that. It just didn't make sense.
Right.
So yeah, around the age of 18, I lost my faith in that. And since then, or from then until I met you, basically, I called myself an agnostic.
Mm.
So
Okay. So
I
that's
and
what
that
that
was
means.
yeah, an
I
agnostic
just wonder, I'm
is
like, what is that exactly? Okay.
yeah,
How
it's a
how
lot
you
of
put in
and
your perspective? It's awesome. Okay.
yeah, and people, yeah, it can mean different things. But what it meant to me was that obviously you have people who believe in God, Christians, Muslims, whatever. They believe there
Hmm.
is God. They believe there is, a point, meaning to the whole thing. Then you have atheists who say, no, there's no God, there's no meaning. It's just all
Okay.
random. Nothing makes
Yeah.
sense, at the end of the day. Agnostics are those who say that I don't know, basically.
Okay.
So they
Okay.
don't say that there is no God. They also don't believe in God. They're kind of in between. They say I don't know. Uh,
Okay.
so that's basically where I was. I continued reading, studying philosophy, studying different religions, but I didn't believe in anything. Nothing really resonated with me. Um,
Hmm.
with the exception of Buddhism. I like Buddhism all the way through, kind of, and I read
Yes, absolutely.
books, and that did resonate with me, and I kind of got into it to some degree, but never like wholeheartedly. It was just like, yeah, I see their point. Yeah, suffering is because you cling to stuff and because of your desire and all that. So yeah, but apart from that, I just kind of drifted by. And I guess, although I wasn't an atheist, I kind of lived my life as if there was no point to the whole thing. If
Okay.
you wanted a meaning, you had to create your own meaning.
Hmm.
Uh, you couldn't just turn to God or, find a higher power to tell you what to do or to help you make sense of everything. So from I
Okay.
was 18 until I met you, which is really like a bit more than a year ago. So we're talking almost 30 years, 29,
Wow.
something like that. Yeah.
Oh my God, I
As
didn't even realize
agnostic.
that. So we
No.
met. So just to give a little bit of the background, you're originally from Denmark, right? And
Yeah.
we met in Malta, where I am originally from. And I was visiting family at the time, I don't know, around November-ish of 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I've lived in Malta now for 17 years. So it's become my second home. And yeah, I like it here. But yeah, we met in, yeah, I think it was December 23.
Okay. Yeah.
And the first thing that, I mean, obviously from the beginning, you talked about spirituality. because that's what you do. You know,
Well,
you
yeah.
can't help yourself. That's who you are. And that was great.
Yeah.
And you know, in the beginning, I was just like, okay, she's very spiritual. That's okay. Doesn't really resonate with me, but you know, I'll listen. I'll be polite. And I did. And some of it was interesting. I wasn't just faking the whole thing, but you know, yeah. And I like you as a person. But you know, nothing apart from that. And then what happened I think it was in February, something like that. Yeah, February 24. We had met I think we went for dinner. And then, yeah, obviously we talked about spirituality as usual, but at that point I wasn't into anything. So anyway, I got home and I went to bed and I fell asleep. And then I woke up in the middle of the night around 3 o'clock, I think. Probably went to the bathroom, went back to sleep. And before I could fall asleep, I had my first ever supernatural experience. And what happened was that as I was kind of not dozing off, but you know, waiting to fall asleep again, I suddenly saw a very strong purple light. Kind of like I had my eyes were closed because I was trying to sleep. So it felt a bit like, or looked a bit like someone had a purple flashlight that you know was shining directly into my eyes. So it was like just everything went purple, and I saw some waves. So yeah, purple waves basically. And it was it wasn't scary. It was really strong, but it wasn't scary. It was peaceful. It was something positive, something good. So I wasn't scared. It was a little bit overwhelming, but not in a scary way. Of course, I had no idea what it was. I had no clue, you know, what could it be. I just saw purple. And while I saw that purple, you were on my mind, kind of. I didn't see you. You were not part of the vision as such, but you were there somewhere in the background, I guess. So like, you know, somewhere. So I felt like you were present. Yeah. So it had something with you. I knew that much. I remember my very first thought was, I can't tell Erica this. I'm not going to tell her because if I do, I'll never hear the end of it. Because I know you'd have all kinds of, you know, explanations and interpretations.
Of course.
I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. That was what I thought at the time. And
I love it.
And obviously I was curious, you know, at first it was like I said, it wasn't scary. So it happened and I fell asleep. And then of course, the next day I was like, what was that thing that happened? That purple light I saw. And it was strong enough that you know, so that I couldn't explain it away. I couldn't just say, nah, you know, you were just tired. It was just something you saw, you know, yeah, for whatever reason, nothing real as such. But it was too strong. I couldn't explain it away. It was too much for that.
Yeah, you couldn't ignore it. You couldn't just let it go and close your eyes and pretend it didn't happen. And it had to be strong too. It had to happen that way, right? Because of your scientific mind and all that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it had been like just a little bit, I was like, nah, I was just tired, you know, nothing. But I couldn't. It was too strong for that. So obviously, I'm a curious person. I love science, just like you. Yeah. And I wanted to know what is this? What was it? And you know, I had basically my only real like spiritual friend was you. Plus, it was about you. So eventually, I told you about it, and I think it was sent you a message or something, and you were like, "Oh, cool, my aura." I was like, "Oh, okay, what's that? What it was?" And I was skeptical, so I did some research. Could you see an aura in that way? You know, I did my Googled it. I did my research, asked AI, and so on, and it turned out okay. That's actually possible. You can see an aura in that way. So I just had to conclude, okay, that's probably what it was because it was something. And what else would it be? You know, it was about you. It was, you know, purple and so on. So that was like my wake-up call. And that was in itself, it was a relatively small thing, but at the same time, it was something huge, because that's things like that do not happen in a random universe with no meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not possible. And that's the world I was living in. My reality was, there is no meaning, there is no God, there is no, you know.
Wow.
And now I had to question all that, because if that was true, I wouldn't just see a purple light and feel your presence so strongly for no reason. Why would I? I mean, so yeah, that was my initial wake-up call.
It was the catalyst, right?
The catalyst,
the catalyst that took you to
like
your transformation.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the whole thing.
That was the beginning. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And of course, I kept thinking about it, and I wanted to, you know, okay, so I saw your aura. What does this mean? And I remember I was really first I was a little bit, oh, oops, now I have to change my whole perception of the world. You know, it's like, it's not random. There is something. But it didn't take long before I felt good about that. I was like, oh, cool. It's not just all random. There is something going on. There must be a reason for, you know, why is there a universe at all? Why are we here? And so on. It's like suddenly I was back to where I was as a child and as you know, as a teen. Okay, so there is a meaning.
Wow.
And then what happened is, I think a couple of weeks later, I was in a mall, and I felt this urge to go into a bookshop and look at books. And they had like a small section with spiritual books. And I found a book that I just picked up some random books. The first one didn't really resonate with me. And then next to that one, there was another one, small little book called The Untethered Soul, which is, you know, it's quite a famous, it's like a New York Times bestseller and stuff about, I don't know if you could call it basic spirituality, about, you know, the first steps, how you start opening up to yourselves, how you start meditating, how you start letting go, and all of that. And he explains these things in a very simple way, but not in a superficial way. So it's like I read a few pages in the shop and in the bookshop, and I just, okay, I want to read this book. So I got it, and I read it in a short time. And while I was reading it, I did my first ever meditation. He talks a lot about letting go. That's his main thing. You have to let go, you know, of whatever is blocking you. You have to let it go. Okay, so I have to let go now. Okay. So like halfway through the book, I remember there's a chapter where he just keeps emphasizing let go, let go, let go. And at some point he writes, but just let it go. No, I'm serious. You can just let it go. And that like became my inspiration to do my first ever meditation in my whole life. So I sat down on my couch and I closed my eyes and I just said, okay, I'm going to try to let go. So I just kind of let things come up. I said, okay, I have to let go of I guess, negative stuff, negative thoughts, negative feelings. So I just kind of, I think I actually actively thought about things that were bothering me or things from the past that, you know, kept coming up, stuff like that. And I just said, okay, I'm going to let it go. And in a few minutes, that became, I don't know, at that point, it was my most intense, one of my most intense experiences ever, because it kind of worked. I actually managed to let things go. I could just feel it kind of coming out of me, like, you know, I could actually let them go. I'm not saying 100% everything, of course not, but it's like something really happened. And I just felt like things were, you know, torn out of me. And I felt this huge sense of relief when I was done. During the process, it was kind of tough. It was like, I was like, oh, you know, what's going on? And I had to get up from the couch and walk around a bit and sit down and continue. And it was really intense, probably like half an hour like that. So that was, and that, like I said, it was probably a week or two after I saw your aura. So that was, that became the beginning of my spiritual journey.
So by you doing the meditation of letting go, because words are powerful, right?
Mhm. I
you
know,
you
you told me.
just once.
uh,
Well, you had a release during the meditation.
yeah,
Because you're commanding, really, that's what you're doing. You're giving, because the words hold power and everything is energy. So you released, you let go everything and anything that was not serving you, and that's why it was intense, because it was
yeah,
you were doing you're working with energies. That's what was going on, you
yeah,
know,
definitely.
which
Yeah,
is intense, but it's needed. You gotta, it's like today's energy. I was telling you, okay, it's so before we got on, it's so aligned, because
yeah,
it's a Scorpio full moon. You're a Scorpio, and it's about transformation, and it's about death and rebirth, and something needs to die before a rebirth. So
yeah.
that's what was going on. So the old parts of you that you had to let go, they had to die off, right? They had to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And because you went through a rebirth, you were like re reborn, like a new person, right? And a
Yeah,
higher version of you, which is amazing.
yeah.
And then like what else like have you experienced since then? So you went through, so the aura was the initiator, and then right after we met, and then you started meditating, and then it's like, whoa, you're
Yeah,
meditating even more than me now, because it's like you're amazing, you're
yeah. I from the very beginning, I loved meditating. I never
yeah.
thought I would. I mean, it never really resonated with me. Just the idea of meditation, I was like,
Hmm.
please, waste of time. But I just loved it. And I kept doing it. Like, I think in the beginning, I did it just like once a day. Then it
Hmm.
became twice a day. And now,
Yeah.
to be honest, like 4 or 5 times a day, sometimes
Wow.
more, because it just, yeah, I just love it.
How does it make you feel? Like what is the like why do you love it so much?
Like for in the beginning, or like for quite a while, it was still about letting go. That was
Okay.
like, it took a long time to let go of, I wouldn't say everything, but I feel at this point I actually managed to let go of, the main, what the Buddhists call samskaras, or blockages,
Mm-hmm.
that blocks your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like those are gone at this point.
Okay,
It,
so attachments. Should we
you,
like link it with attachments?
yeah, attachments and blockages, especially, I would call them,
Okay.
things that were blocking my energy.
Ah, okay,
But
good.
that's how I
Yeah.
experienced it, that I meditate and I can feel the energy. Obviously, I could feel that from the beginning. But in the beginning, it was more like, apart from this very intense first experience, it was kind of more like a trickle, that it was there, but it was very subdued. It was like flowing slowly. And so I would just kept focusing on letting go of whatever came up during my meditations. I was just opening up to whatever thoughts, whatever feelings would arise, and then I let it go, consciously let it go.
Good.
That's basically what I was doing for a year.
Wow.
Um, and gradually, I let go of more and more. And when you let go, as you know, then the energy becomes stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And when the energy becomes stronger, you can let go of even more. So you
Mm-hmm.
enter this positive cycle where you get more and more energy, which makes it easier and easier to let go of even more. So that's basically what happened for about a year. Of course, it was a bit up and down. I'm not saying everything was just progression without any problems at all, but like overall, I felt like there was progress all the
Good.
time. Then the next very intense experience was about 3 months ago. I had noticed that when I consciously let go of something, what would started happening was that you can't always just let go and then they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while from you consciously let go of it until it's actually gone. And
Yeah.
what usually happened was that I let go consciously, and then maybe a few hours or half a day or sometimes a day later, I suddenly felt when I was in the middle of something else, when I was working, for example, it's like, okay, now it's like it's coming out. Whatever I let go of consciously was now actually leaving me. That's how I experienced it. And those experiences, when the blockages actually left me, became stronger and stronger. And I started feeling physically when it happened, that it wasn't just, okay, I felt something inside of me, but it was waves of energy that I felt physically that kind of pushed these blockages out, pushed them up, and made the energy flow even more freely.
Okay.
And it came to the, you know, I felt it, the waves physically, and it became stronger and stronger for each time. And the time between letting go consciously until they actually left me, these blockages, became shorter and shorter.
Okay.
And then what happened about 3 months ago was that there was an explosion, an extreme explosion of energy, where I just, it completely took me, what you say, it like overwhelmed me, and it just like really flushed through me. And I felt an intense, I had like an intense feeling of ecstasy and bliss, just beautiful, powerful energy flowing through me. Mixed with very painful experiences of having these blockages pushed out of me. And I just like literally pushed, I felt like physically pushed out of me. And while that happened, when you know, they were pushed out, it was extremely painful, mentally painful, because it's like they were born in pain. When, you know, these blockages come from somewhere, you know that better than anyone, that is not just random stuff. It's things that have happened to you that create these blockages. And when they actually come up and you just sit there with them, you just witness them, and you decide, I'm going to let them go. I'm just going to let them flow by, not going to push them back, not going to fight with them. I'm not going to argue with them, not going to resist them. I'm just going to let it happen. That's the way to do it. And I did that, but it was painful, very painful, many times.
Okay.
And that kept on going for quite a while, for a couple of months probably.
Okay.
Quite regularly. And I'm lucky in the sense that I usually work from home, so I can take a break whenever I want to take a break. And these things just kind of happen. You know, you can't really plan when you want to do it. It just happens. And I could always take a break. I say, okay, now I take a break from work and I just let it happen.
Okay.
And so it happened many times. And gradually I felt that these blockages became, there were fewer and fewer left of them. And the energy was flowing stronger and stronger. And in the beginning, there was this mix of bliss, ecstasy, and pain when the blockages were pushed out. So I felt like this energy was cleansing me, like a very intense, like a purging of whatever was stuck inside of me. So yeah, sometimes I just felt the energy, that was, you know, the ecstasy, the bliss, and sometimes it was mixed with pain when the energy pushed out the blockages.
Okay. Now, I have a question. So do these are they still present? Do they still coming up? Would you say like these blockages be as like your shadows? Is that what you mean by the blockages? I'm trying to understand, like, would that be shadows that you, like, are you meant to look at them, the shadows?
I think you're meant to experience them, to feel them.
Okay.
Because that's the only way to let them go.
Okay.
You're not, I don't think you're supposed to really analyze them, or you don't have to understand exactly what it is. At least, you know, there are different ways of doing it. So I can just share what happened to me, but
yes,
I
absolutely.
just let things come up and I could feel the feeling. I could feel the blockage, but I usually didn't know where it came from.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't say, okay, now I'm letting go of whatever happened to me that was really painful 5 years ago, you know.
So it's not like a detail. So it's not like the same thing. I'm trying to understand if it's different, like the shadow. So like when I'm giving a session during a hypnotherapy. So you haven't done hypnotherapy. You and I, it's more like energy work, coaching, you know,
Yeah.
spiritual stuff. But with like hypnotherapy, I get to the root of that shadow, that particular shadow. We face it. Why is it coming? And then we, reprogram the brain. So that was my question. Is it something like a shadow? Does it keep coming up that you're meant to get to the root or face, or is it just an energy? You know what I mean? I'm trying to understand the difference.
Yeah.
So has it been, were you able to, have they been like transmuted, or do they still show up?
They showed up until I would say probably 5-6 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Then so it's quite recent. And then at some point, these very painful sessions where I felt the energy pushing out the blockages, they stopped. And I got the feeling, oh, okay, now we're done. Now I'm finally clean, so to speak. I'm not saying 100%, but it felt like the big blockages were gone.
Okay, gotcha.
It happened, very fast. Because once the energy flows so strongly as it started doing, then, like I said before, it's like I consciously let go of something, and then 6 hour, half a day later or next day, it actually came out. But what started happening was that I consciously let go of something, and 5 minutes later, it was pushed out, like woof. So it was
like you're giving birth.
exactly, kind of. Well, I wouldn't know, but
You
it's
wouldn't know,
like,
but it's like, oh, this is what I'm feeling, right?
it's like a turbo, kind of like everything just went 10 times faster all of a sudden. And so just more and more blockages being pushed out, and more energy. And now I feel like I'm at a stage where these blockages are gone and the energy is just flowing freely. So I feel them every single day, all the time. As soon as I sit down to meditate and I close my eyes, literally 5 or 10 seconds later, I feel these waves just flowing through me strongly, strong waves of energy, accompanied by feelings of bliss, happiness, ecstasy sometimes. It's just like completely open now.
Okay. Now, what's coming to, like, do you ever, and I know we talked about this before, but do you ever feel called to, it's 144, me with the numbers. He's over here. You're like, what is that? Do you ever feel, or have you felt that to alchemize the energies, like what to do with all that energy?
To be honest, I feel like, since, like I said, until a few weeks ago, it was still about my blockages. It was more about, letting go of them and being freeing myself, kind of. Or I wasn't freeing myself, but the energy was freeing me. So it's like very new to me. But I can feel now that I'm free, and I'm much less reactive than I was before. I'm much more happy. I feel free. So of course I started thinking, okay, so what do I do with all this beautiful energy, all this happiness, and all this ecstasy? I mean,
exactly.
as it is to meditate, I want to share it. I want to do something.
You want to help,
To help,
so, and before I ask you with the next question with that, I want to reverse a little bit. Like when we met and I started telling you about spirituality, the number one that I always start with is that, and especially because this is going to reach people who are waking up. There's a huge wave of awakening right now. I'm seeing it every day, like with younger generation. But unfortunately, they're waking up to the false light. So when we met, right, maybe we can touch a little bit about this, that there's a lot of false gods. There's a lot of false light. So you recall, right, the first thing I said, and even through your journey, I keep reminding you, so to protect your energy and set your intention, right? Like that when you are meditating, praying, it's the true God creator, right? So do you use a certain mantra, or how what are your intentions when you set your intention? Because when you're working with energies and all that, there's energy vampires. Okay, so you have to false light, whatever you want to call it. There's so many names, shadows. I always say you become a T-bone steak. You're like,
Yeah.
So how do you stay centered with the true God in your heart, and what do you do?
What's been so beautiful about this journey for me, apart from what I described, is that it's so direct. It's like I feel that it's between me and God.
That's it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Simple, right?
Very simple. But I think you're right in the sense that it has to stay simple. You shouldn't start, just
exactly
you and God. And since you have warned me a few times about when the energies become so strong, don't make sure you don't you're not hijacked and all that. When I don't really pray as such, but I do sometimes, yeah. But it's more like when I meditate, for example, if I ask for guidance, when I open up, I say I open up to God, my creator.
Good.
And I think I started doing it actually due to your advice, because maybe even saying God is not enough, but if you say God, my creator, there's only one creator.
Yeah. There's only one creator.
That should be safe. Yeah.
And when we met, I explained why I had to right away, warn you, because I was through the false light. I had to go through that, right? And following the false mentors, and was a spiritual junkie with all these symbols that I had no idea they were hijacking my energy, and who I was following, so many false gods. So it was part of my journey. I had to learn, a lot of lessons. Discernment is huge, huge. Using discernment, not to give our power away, not to put others on a pedestal, right? And then when I had my final true awakening, I should call it, to true God, literally, I felt it was a full circle. Come back to full circle to her. I'm like, oh, this is so simple. Why did we complicate so much? I threw everything away, Lasse. I went and I threw all the jewelry, all the clothes, anything with false lights symbols, gone, trashed. And there was actually a friend who's like, why are you throwing your jewelry? You should sell it. I'm like, why would I sell it if it's false?
Exactly. No, I completely agree. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, that it is so simple, but we just have to keep it simple and to not be distracted by whatever forces are trying to distract us. I think I had the advantage of having read quite a bit about I studied comparative religion at university, and so I've read so much about different religions and New Age and all kinds of spiritual movements, always from an academic perspective. So it wasn't anything personal.
Yeah.
But I just I was so fed up with it, because everyone has their system, and I just didn't want to be part of any system. I didn't want to have any complicated theology or anything like that. I just wanted to become myself, my true self, and to connect my true self with God, the true God. That's it. And it's so beautiful to experience that this is possible, because I felt from the very beginning that when I sit down to meditate and I open up, then what I feel is directly from God. It's the true God. It's not, it's not, I can just feel that it's right. I can't really explain how, but I just feel that this is the true God. This is something good. This is something positive. This is the real thing.
Well, actually,
I felt that
one explanation would be the love. You feel love, like this overwhelm.
Yes, that's
it.
true. Very true. Yeah. It's love.
Unconditional love, to be more specific.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's maybe the best way to tell is it false or not? Is it to ask the question, is this love? Is it unconditional love and nothing more than that? If the answer is yes, then it's God. Then it's true.
That's all it is. I personally, you know, where I am in my journey, it's a consciousness and it's within us, and it's not somebody with a beard on the clouds.
Exactly. Well, that's it. Yeah. And being raised a Christian, you know, conservative Christian, it's like you have all these images of God from your childhood. You know, the old man with the beard who watches us from above and is a little bit, he loves us, but he's also a bit judgmental, and you have to be careful because he could throw you into hell and all that. So that is really, it's horrible. It's so damaging, I think, to people to go through that, and you have to get over that and realize that God is not judgmental. He's not going to throw you into hell or anything like that. He just loves you, and he wants
unconditional love.
Unconditional love,
which is a frequency. It's a consciousness, you know.
That's what it is. And it's just, I don't know, it's just pure beauty. It's like the whole journey has been so beautiful, so freeing, so positive. And I would never have thought that I would have any experiences like this with the energy and the whole journey. It's just, I can't even find words for it. It's just, I
love it.
It happens so fast.
It's bliss.
The
other thing I wanted to ask you, because we connected, right? Because we have, like you mentioned already, we're very scientific. Right? We're very scientific. We're in logic. We analyze everything with, you know what I mean? It's formulas, all the science stuff. So it's like, I wanted to hear your point of view, your perception, because to me, you can't have science without spirituality and vice versa. It's kind of like, look at our brain, right? It's left brain, right brain, 50-50 for a reason.
Exactly.
We utilize both all the time, creativity and logic. That's the one. So how do you, so now that you went, like, you're always scientific, always logic, right? Always research and all that, even when we have conversation.
I know.
Bring the science into everything. And to me, it's a way to also, it's like, look, people, here, we start from energy, it's Einstein, it's science. It always goes back to science, spiritual science, spiritual. So how do you, what is your point of view with that? Like, you know,
I mean, I still love science, and I read science news every day, and it's like, but it's just, you know, I guess what has changed is that I kind of realized, well, I realized before as well, but science, or the scientific approach to reality, just has its limits. In the sense that, at least when we talk about, you know, mainstream science, that you can get to a certain point. If you look at the brain, for example, science obviously knows a lot about the correlation between what happens in our brains and our experiences. There are different centers of the brain controlling different things, and you know that, you know, if you affect the brain in a certain way, then your consciousness will be slightly altered and all that. That's all true, but the problem is if you try to take the next step and say that this proves that all there is to consciousness is just some kind of, you know, product of the brain, and that's all there is. So when the brain dies, you die as well. You're just gone forever. Then it you know, that's not science. That's a belief, because science basically has, again, I'm talking mainstream science, has no idea what consciousness is. You know, they're doing a lot of research and they're interested in it, and it's now acceptable to be interested in it.
I saw that research, how they're like really diving more.
Really interesting. About the consciousness. A lot of research, and it's cool and all that, but it's just, it has its limit, because I don't think it can ever explain what consciousness is, because it's like, I heard an analogy that it's a bit like the mainstream scientific approach to consciousness is a bit like meeting a drunk guy who is looking for something he lost, and he's looking for it under a bright street light. And then you meet this drunk and you say, hey, bro, can I help you? Yeah, I'm looking for, I lost my wallet. Oh, okay, let's see if we can find it. And you look around a bit under this street light, and then you ask the guy, listen, where did you drop your wallet? Oh, I lost it up there in the valley, or up there in the alley, the dark alley up. Okay, so why are you not looking in the dark alley? Oh, it's because there's no light up there. But there's a bright light here. So I thought it would be easier to look here.
Oh, okay.
It's a bit kind of like an analogy of, you know, what science does with the consciousness, that, okay, they understand the brain to some degree. So it means everything has to come from the brain. But that's not necessarily true. In fact, it's not true, because it's more like consciousness uses the brain and not the other way around.
Exactly, because we are a soul.
We are a soul.
We are a soul in a human body with the brain and all that,
exactly.
right? It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Wow. It's, my God. there's so much we don't know. You know, the saying, the more you know, the less you know, that's
exactly. Yeah.
That keeps me humble and grounded,
yeah,
you know.
Like, yeah, that's important. Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
And in a spiritual journey in general, it's very important to be humble, because especially have these strong experiences, to understand that you are on your path and other people can experience different things, or in a different way, or in a different order, and they're supposed to. They're not all supposed to experience what you do. So you have to respect each other's journeys, and
we talked about that a lot, because there are things, you know, we don't agree on, you know, different things. So it's like, respectfully disagree.
And that's again with the love, you know, that we can agree on something, or usually we don't really disagree. It's more like we're into different things. Like, for example, you love astrology, and I'm not really into that, but that doesn't mean that I'm saying it's nonsense. I'm just saying, okay.
No, I mean, the whole astrology thing, my God, the more I refuse to look into it, because I'm like, okay, I'm studying hypnotherapy. I already have enough, you know, to study right now. I don't want anything to do with it, just the basics. The more that my life path kept bringing to me. And it's like, okay, so I started like researching here and experimenting, because just like you, I come as a skeptical first, right? Question everything. And then everything, like human design, everything makes sense. But then when I got into the whole ascension and false light and through ascension, I learned that astrology and human design, it's part of the false light. So I'm like, okay, now what? You know, I was like, how do I let go? I was like, you know, how do I? And it just kept bringing me. But then I understood it's because it just to use it to help understand myself and where I'm going and my clients, but not to keep us in a box, because ultimately we are one with God, and God is everything, and it's not we're in this sign, that sign, that, you know what I mean? But it's more like, look, you know how people get affected during the full moon, like today, right? Especially today. There's facts, you know. There's I have a friend who's the funeral business, and he has said that during full moon they're busier, or emergency rooms are going to tell you, you know, because it's water, and just almost like the crazy gets crazier and all that. So that's just one. What then if the moon has effects, and what about the other ones? Mars, Venus, right? There's so many. So it's like so many aspects. So that's where I started with that. So if we have proof with one, then what about the others? So to me, it's like, if we are going to be affected anyways, right? Because they do affect our energies, then I want to know what they're doing. Like, I want to know what they're doing, and I want to make it work for me, not against me, you know. And so, for example, for today, if I know there's a lot of crazy people out there, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna go to the stores, you know. It's like, I'm just gonna meditate a little more. That's it.
It's probably a good idea.
So it's not like it's so I'm not making astrology my God.
No, I realize that for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where and it's I want to put a disclaimer, because I know it's like I follow the Christic time of ascension and all that, and it's like it's against it's the false light, and it's like, yes, I totally get it, and I don't consent, and I use discernment, and I'm sovereign. You know, it's just I'm still gonna be affected. Hey, might as well use this.
Yeah.
And I fail and work with it.
Yeah.
You know,
No, that
so
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like, and you are using a scientific approach, because you said, okay, there is actually evidence when it comes to the moon. So maybe, you know, the other planets affect us as well. And another thing I've been thinking about in connection with this is that, you know, like I said, when you're an atheist or an agnostic, there's no point to anything. So of course you would think, you know, whatever the planets are up to right now, why would that have anything to do with my state of mind or other people's state of mind? Doesn't make any sense. But once you realize that everything is not random, there is a meaning to everything. Why wouldn't the planets, you know, influence something? Because there must be a reason why these planets are here, not just why there are planets, but why we have these particular planets and why they are where they are. And so on, you know, so you kind of go from everything being a coincidence or random to everything having a meaning. Everything, like you say, there is no coincidences. Everything is there for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And once you get to that point, you can no longer say that astrology doesn't make any sense, because they're part of the game, you know, they're part of reality.
Exactly. It's they're affecting us.
Yeah, I don't maybe understand it, but I have to be open to it, to say that it could be true. And maybe at some point I will, you know, get into it, start doing research on it, and you know, it will become completely meaningful to me. I don't know yet, but you know, I have to be open.
I'm sorry. We talked also about human design. Remember, like when we met, the first thing, right? Because it's like when I meet someone, it's like, okay, well, let's get your human design. Then that's another disclaimer I want to make, because if you understand human design, it combines astrology, the Kabbalah, and Western Vedic, you know, Chinese I Ching. Kabbalah is false light, because Kabbalah is, you know, the tree of light. It's hijacked. It's made out of 10 spheres, but the true tree of light, it's made out of 12. So again, it's a disclaimer. I have awareness of that it is hijacked that way. However, when I've been on this journey since 2019 or 2020, skeptical. First thing I saw, I'm like, what the heck is this? You know, and that's what everybody got the reaction. When I started testing it out, an experiment, because it's an experiment, everything, it was very on point. So then I'm like, okay, let me experiment it with other people. It's on point. It's on point. I'm like, okay, so how can I utilize this by staying with the true light, not false light, right? So my goal is, we are the whole chart. Same thing. The goal is to become the whole chart, right? And how do we get there? By looking at the shadows, doing the shadow work. You do the shadow work through your meditations. I do it with hypnotherapy. Now, by getting to the root, there's of course many modalities when it comes to shadow work. You know, journaling is another way. A lot, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, I think there are different ways to do it. Like the way I do it is to just, you know, open up and let stuff come up and then let it go. As I said, usually without knowing exactly what I let go of. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. I mean, for others, it might be more beneficial to actually know, what am I letting go of, and why is it there? Because when you understand it, it might be easier to let go. I don't know. I just, you know, I know how I experienced it, but different approaches are, you know, good for different people. And I think at the end of the day, we have the same goal, which is to become free, to let go of whatever is blocking us, and to become our true selves. And there are
to return to oneness, right? To return to the one. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all this. I
have to add one thing, if I can.
Of course,
because it's too beautiful not to share it. This story, the very first thing I told you about, well, you knew it already, but seeing your aura in the middle of the night and all that. seeing the purple light, and the very first wake-up call that I got. Later, I realized that all these years, these 30 years I spent as an agnostic, whenever I had discussions with people and I was trying to explain, my position, I always said, listen, I don't believe in anything, but I'm also not telling you that there is nothing. Mm-hmm. And I used the example, for example, if an angel should wake me up in the middle of the night and tell me, listen, bro, you got it wrong. There is actually a God, and there is a point to life. It's not all random. So you have to wake up because God actually wants to use you for this or that. That was my example. And I said, if that happened, I would say, okay, cool, I was wrong. No problem. It's God. I can argue with God. I'm just going to say, okay, great. So there is a God and he wants something to do with me and he has maybe a job for me, then cool. I will change my position like this and I'll be happy to do it because there's a meaning. That's cool. And only later, several months later, did I realize that, so I actually got my angel in the middle of the night. Yes. It was this purple light. It was, your aura that woke me up and kind of put me on the right path.
Wow.
That's like, yeah, that was just a realization that I had to add because it's just, and I think about it once in a while and it's just beautiful. And it's like God was listening when I said this, when I, and I repeated it many times in discussions and he was listening and he said, okay, so he will get his angel in the middle of the night. So thank you for being
that was the way to make you, so you can wake up.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I mean, I'm humbled and honored.
You were my angel, so thanks for that.
I'm very grateful because when you think about it, so it's like, it's in my human design, okay? I'm a catalyst, I'm an initiator, and it's like when I meet people, whether I'm coaching, just meet them randomly, hypnotherapy, I'm meant to shock people, not in a negative, but shock them with the truth because I'm very transparent. It's through am I saying? It's like I don't sugarcoat, right? But it's like I'm coming from the heart. I come from love, right? So it's like here's what's happening. Here's what you need to do. Bam, like bye.
No, that's who you are, and that's great. I mean, that's what people need most of the time because usually, people tell you what you want to hear, and that's usually not what you should hear. You should hear the truth, not what you will be comfortable about right now.
Yeah,
that's going to help you most of the time. It's just going to keep you going on the path that made you unhappy in the first place. So you need the truth. You don't need to be reassured that whatever you're doing that's not working, it's something you should continue doing. So
no, and then that's my mission. That's what God put me here is to like, okay, right here. And my mission, so again, it's in my human design, it's to bring people back to their hearts, to the true God, and bring them back to faith, just like what happened to you, right? And initiate them through their inner awakening to find their true self within, right? Which is a beautiful journey. But it's very humbling because now it's got a ripple effect, right? So it's like, now that you're doing your work and you're this beautiful energy, so now so we're going to go to the next thing. You've got all this beautiful energy, right? And now when you're meeting people, you're like a new man, evolved man, like this beautiful energy. So now it's the next step. What do you think you want to do? What are you feeling calling? Are you in between right now?
I'm still I'm just staying open at this point. And I feel like I'm supposed to do something for sure. Like,
definitely.
Yeah. But exactly what it is, I'm trying to stay open. And when I meditate, I say I'm open to guidance. Whatever I'm supposed to do, just let me know, show me, give me a sign, whatever. But I also don't want to push it because I'm sure that if you stay open, you'll get the message in the way that you're supposed to get it. You'll get your guidance.
Ask and you shall receive. And we talked because, I'm planning to organize a retreat in Malta, right? Well, in Gozo, which is the second island of Malta. And we talked about different ideas. And you had mentioned that you were a professor, right? Like you used to teach. You worked.
College teacher kind of.
What age? I'm sorry, I
They
forgot. Like
were early 20s.
early 20s. And you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul, son. And I
Thank you.
love,
Yeah, I love it.
super special, and he's doing amazing. And
Yeah,
he's bringing his light in his own way in Malta by
definitely.
running. It's like, remember I told you that's another thing. It's like when
I
I'm like,
know. Yeah, I have to give you credit for that. Before he, even yeah, you said that you saw the vision of him, and now it's happening that he, participates in races and he's doing really well. He's only 17, but he's already competing with the very best runners in Malta. So yeah, yeah, respect.
I see the big picture. That's what it is. As soon as I saw him and I saw I'm like he's gonna be running and he's gonna be running all around Malta and
I
everybody's
remember,
gonna love him,
you're
everything,
saying
right?
that.
And he's gonna this is his mission, his way of work by being in his true joy because he's so beautiful light. He's so special and everybody loves him, and he connects to people that way and he's spreading it around by
Yeah,
running, doing what he loves.
definitely, yeah. And he doesn't have to say a lot of things. He just has to be there. Just him being there. That's, people love his energy. They love his
Exactly.
happiness. He's always happy. So yeah, that's just his way of doing it in a very non-verbal way. But it's just, yeah, just beautiful to
Well, he's
witness.
pure. He's pure. He's
He is
innocent,
pure. He
and
has a
that's
very
what people
pure, innocent heart. Yeah. So I'm
people
very
love his
blessed.
heart.
And what I have to
So
say, it's so beautiful to see how, like when you explain what you do and how you just open and you just let God work through you,
yeah,
and you just let things happen the way they're supposed to happen, and that's so freaking beautiful. And the fact that you can do that, just staying open and going through whatever you have to go through, helping in the way that you're supposed to help and all that, it's really, it's such a pleasure to know you and to see how you work and feeling your energy and all that. It's just so you mean more to me than you think.
what's
Because
that?
I think you mean more to me than you think, because
Oh,
you're such a good example. And it's about the energy. I can't really explain it well with words, but just seeing how you let God use you,
oh,
that I
thank you.
think is the greatest inspiration of all. And it's a humility, it's a humbleness, it's just being open. Okay, I want to do what I'm supposed to do, and that's all there is to it, kind of. And if you say that, then it will happen in the way that it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, and I do believe that you. Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. But I do believe, to me, the most important thing is the also the ripple.
Yeah,
And that you are going to help a lot of people. You're going to influence a lot of people, whether you choose to teach young adults spirituality in Malta, or whatever exactly it's gonna go, maybe, I don't know, it's gonna come to you, you'll know.
yeah,
But even just you being you and bringing your energy, because raising your energy, raising your frequency, working on yourself. I always say, like, when I'm working with a client, it's like when you choose to do the work, you're not only doing it for you. First of all, you're breaking ancestral patterns. There's if you Google it, it's going to tell you how many lineages it goes past and future. So you're doing the work to heal your past ancestral and your future generations. So that's huge already. And then you're also, because you're increasing your energy everywhere you go. You're in Maliha. I love Maliha. And it's high.
I know, yeah.
Like on top of the Maliha church. I love Maliha. It's my favorite. You're really like bringing the energy everywhere. So it's really helping Malta a lot because, as I shared before, we talked about this. Malta is connected with the heart chakra, and even if people don't speak this lingo, a lot of Maltese don't understand this, right? Some do, some don't. But the ones who don't understand this lingo, they can tell you, and we talked about this, that Maltese people are known for their huge heart.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's so it's connected with the heart and the huge heart. So there's gonna be negative energies there to hijack, to compromise. So then God put you there, and your son and other ones, you know, that are doing the same work, similar work, to bring in the light, you know, to balance it. To
Well, I mean, that's, yeah. I'm very humble about the whole thing. It's like, I just, at this point, I mean, I've been giving this freedom, I've been giving this peace, and giving this energy. So I just want to, you know, now I just want to spread it. I just want to do whatever I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I'm sure it will be shown to me. And if it's
Yeah.
teach, great. I love to teach. If it's something else,
Mhm.
that's fine. So yeah, I'm sure before very long, I have a feeling something will happen, and
Oh, very soon.
we'll see what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, and then I'll do it. So
Very, very soon. So, well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up? Because it's like, it's been an hour already or more.
yeah, I think, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, more or less.
Is there anything else? Or do we touch the best
I
everything?
think we kind of, yeah, touched everything. Yeah. Again, I just want to say thank you for, yeah, for what you've done to me, and done for
Oh,
me, and just being there. Um, it's yeah, it's, like I said, it's a pleasure knowing you, and I'm very thankful for meeting you, and for,
likewise.
yeah, you know, God decided to reach out to me through you. So you'll always be a very special person to me, and so
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. And I'm very grateful to have met you too, because you are doing the work, and so you're just gonna carry on, you know, which is beautiful. So I'm grateful. It is very humbling. It's a humbling journey.
It is, yeah. It's overwhelming, and it's beautiful, and it's
It
humbling,
is.
because you just
It is.
realize there's so much beyond, you know, you, and but still you're a part of it. So it's humbling, but at the same time you realize, you know, you are actually a part of it, and you are big as well. You are beautiful as well.
Yes, you are significant. You do matter. You are important. And that's a very, actually, that is an amazing message to end this out there for anyone who's watching. Okay. Especially who's just going through an awakening, or who's going through a transformation, you know, there's so many people at rock bottom, that you do matter. You are significant. You are here for a reason. You are loved. Okay. So things
Okay.
do change, things do
Yeah.
transform,
Yeah.
if you choose to do the work, right? Take action and
Exactly.
believe.
Yeah.
No,
Open up to it. Yeah.
sounds like
Definitely.
it's like through God, through faith, anything is possible.
For sure. Yeah. I
So
didn't think so, but it is.
I love it. Well, Les, thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate
It's
your
been a pleasure.
time. All
Thank you.
right. Well,
Thank
take
you so much.
care. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.